What makes helium a vital commodity for everyday life?
As spoken about before, helium touches most of our lives every day. As helium, it facilitates the manufacturing of consumer electronics. But I think that's been mentioned quite a few times. But interestingly, presently, Thailand and Vietnam and other swaths of Southeast Asia are experiencing a real surge in demand for helium. And that's largely connected to a demand from the population for improvements in healthcare. So as governments kind of increase their focus on healthcare to meet population's demands for improvements, and this is not just with MRI scanners, there are many cryogenic applications in medicine where helium is definitely required. So if you look at kind of a population demand for improvements in healthcare, the government's realization connected to that, then you will see trending alongside that an increased demand for helium. So it's very easy to see how vital helium is there for population groups, not just for consumer electronics, but for healthcare too.
So how is helium the forgotten commodity in the technology we use daily?
So it's like with anything, with convenience comes the expectation that it will always be there. We assume that it will always be this convenient, this efficient, this abundant. So ultimately that leads to us taking things for granted. So it's well documented that helium is used in tech, but there are other commodities too. So if you look at a laptop, for instance, 99% of the stuff that goes into manufacturing the laptop comes straight out the ground. But how many of us really know how that stuff is sourced, how those commodities are identified, found and extracted, how those commodities are then processed? Are the commodities ultimately sustainable? I would say not many of us know about that, including myself. So for that reason, I would say that, with helium and other commodities that go into making tech, for instance, the laptop we've been talking about here, I would say that most of those commodities are probably forgotten about and underestimated.
Why should we all be paying closer attention to helium?
So I'll say it again, helium is used in tech, but I want to say this as well alongside that. Helium in many ways is the new gold. Why is that? Okay, so if you think back to the era, like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, some areas of society would consider that wearing gold on your personage or owning gold, in terms of coins or gold bars or whatever, or having, gold teeth or whatever it might be. There are areas of society that would understand that, having gold connected to your personage or to your your day-to-day life in some way in terms of ownership and showcasing that would be a symbol of status. So the interesting thing now is that, at least from what I can see, and it is only my humble opinion, but if you own, say, the latest gaming console, the latest smartphone, smartwatch, a new Tesla, an 8K TV, all of these things require helium as a facilitator in the manufacturing process. Helium therefore enables new tech to be designed, built, sold. So if you're an owner of new tech, it ups your status. You could somehow say that, tech is a status booster like gold was back in the 60s, 70s and 80s. By having the latest smartwatch, it's like wearing a big gold chain and everyone was like, look at that gold chain. So for me, if helium facilitates the creation of tech, and tech is by definition a benchmark of status in some areas of modern society, then this is probably why we should consider paying closer attention to helium and other commodities being used in the tech space.